All right, let's jump right into this explainer and really unlock the true power of the Levels toolset in Avid Media Composer. If you've ever stared at a timeline full of washed-out, flat footage and wondered why your project doesn't have that polished, high-end HBO look, well, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're going to break down the mechanics of a professional color correction workflow, making it completely accessible, totally logical, and highly effective. Now, before we get into the software, our golden rule is incredibly simple. In the world of post-production, you have to build the frame of the house before you can even think about painting the walls. Color correction is absolutely that construction phase. We're strictly fixing a shot's flaws, adjusting the overall brightness, and neutralizing any of those weird tints. Color grading, on the other hand, that's the interior design. That's where we get to have fun adding specific tones and hues to create a mood or artistically enhance the shot.
As editors, especially those of us working with moderate budgets, mastering this technical correction foundation is absolutely essential. You know the drill. You literally cannot just slap a moody, cinematic LUT onto a shot with crushed blacks and a glaring green cast. It's going to look terrible, and honestly, it just wastes your time. You have to correct first and grade second. It's completely non-negotiable.
Here is our roadmap for this masterclass. First, the broadcast safe range. Second, step 1, adjusting luminance. Third, step 2, fixing color casts. And finally, step 3, master channel refinement. Section 1, the broadcast safe range, setting the playing field. Before we even think about touching a single slider, we absolutely must establish our 8-bit legal boundaries right inside Avid's correction settings. You see, in our broadcast-safe world, absolute black doesn't actually sit at 0. It sits precisely at an output level of 16. If you push your shadow data down below 16, you're technically creating an illegal signal for broadcast, and worse, you're just crushing the life out of your image's darkest details. And immediately on the flip side of that spectrum, our pure white point hits its absolute legal ceiling at exactly 235. Anything above this number, you are blowing out your highlights, basically turning beautiful bright skies into glaring, dataless white voids. So our entire job when using the Levels tool is to perfectly map our footage between this 16 and 235 range. To make sure we map our footage safely, we're going to rely on a very precise 3-step professional formula. We tackle Luma first, we balance color second, and we do an overall contrast refinement third. If you follow this exact workflow, you'll ensure perfect balance every single time. Moving on to Section 2. Step 1, adjusting luminance, building the base. So our very first major step is manipulating the brightness and the darkness before we touch any specific color channel. Avid packs the Levels tab with some serious precision tools, giving us a lot more control than the standard HSL tab. We've got our composite and Luma tabs for overall brightness, our individual red, green, and blue tabs to target specific colors, and of course our master channel for global adjustments. It really is a highly precise toolkit. But to actually see what we're doing with all those tools, we need to use the Y waveform. We use this specific scope to take a narrow, flawed input range and stretch it perfectly across our wide 16 to 235 output scale. You're literally pulling the black slider up to meet your lowest shadow data and pulling the white slider down to your highest highlight data. And when you do that, instantly, all that hidden contrast and detail buried in the flat image is revealed. It's like magic. Now here's a crucial pro tip on the tools you use to actually do this. You have to choose your weapon carefully here, depending on whether your specific shot can afford a slight shift in color saturation while you're fixing that luminance space. The Composite tab just stretches the brightness limit safely, but the Luma tab, it stretches the brightness, but it simultaneously stretches the color saturation. So if your shot is already looking a bit pale, definitely use Luma. But if the colors are already super vibrant, stick to Composite to keep them from getting wildly oversaturated. All right, Section 3. Step 2. Fixing color casts, the visual investigation. Okay, so with our luminance foundation built perfectly between 16 and 235, we can pivot to the color data and play detective. This scenario happens all the time, especially if you're dealing with terrible fluorescent office lighting. So, how do we fix a really stubborn green tint? Well, you've got to think about color entirely in terms of balance. If a shot is overwhelmingly green, it logically means there is a huge deficiency somewhere else, most likely in the red channel. The green isn't necessarily too high, the red might just be way too low. To actually prove this theory, we swap our scope from the Y waveform over to the RGB parade. Opening up the RGB parade is literally like splitting the image into 3 separate X-rays, red, green, and blue. you'll instantly spot the dissimilarities between the color curves. You'll literally see the green waveforms sitting higher up, or looking a lot thicker than the red and blue waveforms. Honestly, it takes all the guesswork out of color correction. So, to neutralize that awful green, we just jump into the red subdividing tab in our Levels tool. We tweak the red channel input and output histograms until that red curve matches the physical shape and height of the green and blue ones. You just drag those sliders until the three parades look identical. Once those three parades match in weight and distribution, boom, the color cast is completely gone. Which brings us to Section 4, Step 3, Master Channel Refinement, the final polish. After neutralizing that cast, the image might look technically correct, but let's be real, it might still feel a little flat. This leads us perfectly into our final polishing phase. By jumping into the master channel, we grab our sliders and inflate all three curves together. We push them out as far as we possibly can while remaining strictly within our safe 16 to 235 limit. And what this does is restore that vital mid-tone contrast to make the final image truly pop. We can use the sliders for fast, intuitive dragging while watching the scopes, or if we need total pinpoint accuracy, we can just type the exact numbers directly into the text boxes. But I want to give you a vital reminder as we wrap up this workflow. You can't just rely on the math. You have to train yourself to quickly assess the RGB parade while absolutely trusting your creative vision to spot any lingering biases in the midtones. Sometimes the scopes will say a shot is technically balanced, but your eyes are telling you it still feels a little too cool or maybe a little too warm. Think of it this way. The scopes are your map, but your eyes are the driver. And that is a wrap on our professional color correction workflow. By securing your luminance foundation first, mapping it safely between 16 and 235, and then using your RGB parade to aggressively chase down color imbalances, you can conquer literally any shot. But I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder. Are you relying solely on the software's numbers to fix your footage, or are you truly training your eyes to see the story hidden within the image? Hopefully this explainer leaves you eager to fire up Avid, pull up those histograms, and start transforming your own footage. Catch you next time.